What's good with y'all, young people? Dallas Gamer back in the building. You know what I'm saying? Today we got a video about Hollywood Zay. He don't post too much. You know what I'm saying? But go support the video. I'm not gonna watch it in full, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just know that. You know what I'm saying? If you tune into my streams, you know I am a 2K savant. You know what I'm saying? I love 2K. It's just been on the downfall. We about to see why. You know what I'm saying? Hey, hold on. Let me do this. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I want to see if it actually lights up. Tell me if it lights up. You know what I'm saying?
When you take a look at the overall basketball community, there aren't that many things that we can all agree on. But I do believe that there is one opinion that comes pretty close. The modern NBA 2K games are trash. The modern NBA 2K games.
Hey, you could throw 20 in there too, bro. You could but if you going just new gen, bro, I think I'm pretty sure 22 is a bro. Look, let me tell y'all this, bro. Every time I play right for all these years, right, I have missed every percent you can get, bro. I've missed 99s on multiple occasions, bro. This year, I seen a dude straight up like nothing but net a 0% free throw, bro. But I can't hit a 99. Like, make it make sense, bro. Make it make sense.
Games are trash.
Make it make sense.
This is a very common statement to hear throughout the 2K community, but most people rarely explain why 2K has been on a downfall. Most people do agree that modern 2K is trash, but there are lots of different viewpoints and opinions on when the 2K franchise started to get worse. Maybe you thought that 2K18 was the beginning of the end for 2K once they added the neighborhood. I could see if people thought that 2K13 was a foreshadowing of the issues of 2K today with the addition of them adding VC. Some people also believe that 2K17 was the first red flag due to that game having a very buggy launch. Regardless of what you may think about the 2K series, today I will be breaking down the legacy and the downfall of the NBA 2K franchise.
You still get disconnected even.
In the year of 1999, there were a total of 8 NBA basketball games that were all in competition with one another. Even though 8 games may seem like a lot of games to go over, you can easily put these 8 games into a few categories to distinguish them from one another. The first category are the average and mediocre simulation titles that sometimes have borderline terrible gameplay. Then you have the arcade basketball games like NBA Jam and NBA Showtime, which don't really focus on the simulation aspect of the game, but instead how fun and arcade-like the game is. And then you have NBA Live 2000 alongside NBA 2K, the only 2 basketball games that were in serious contention to be called the king of simulation basketball. When NBA 2K first came out, the only console that you could play the game on at the time was a Dreamcast, and 2K decided that Allen Iverson was going to be on the cover of the game. NBA 2K had relatively positive reviews when it first came out, due to the game having very good graphics during its time. But even though NBA 2K had far superior graphics than NBA Live, NBA Live had way more game modes than 2K and offered a deeper experience. There weren't that many game modes in NBA 2K. The only thing that you could really do is play exhibition mode and create a custom player. But regardless of the game not having that many game modes, NBA 2K was still a very solid start for the franchise. Since 1999, the release of NBA 2K, NBA 2K1 was made in October of 2000. NBA 2K1 was a great improvement over NBA 2K. They added new game modes, such as online play where you can play with 7 different players. NBA 2K1 also added a new game mode where they let you be a GM for an NBA team, and you had full control of the entire franchise for a season. NBA 2K2 was the first basketball game to release on the PS2 and original Xbox. NBA 2K2 also gave players the ability to play as retro players like Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson. NBA 2K3 didn't add any big game modes, but they did improve the game's franchise and the gameplay. NBA 2K4.
Hey, let me say this about 2K, bro. I'll be so honest, bro. Until 2K came out with my career in 2K10, bro, NBA Live was that game, bro. I remember to this day, me and my older brother playing NBA Live 09, bro. I had the Celtics because that were to this day, the Celtics is one of my favorite teams. That's not my favorite team, you know what I'm saying? I took Ray Allen off inbound. Boom! And so in that game, right? You wouldn't start out in the menu. When you boot up the game, you would start out in a practice gym, right? And they had this big LED TV in the middle showing off all your highlights from all the games you play. This is amazing feature. I'll be so honest, bro. If they could somehow add that in 2K, bro, that'd be amazing. But it had all like your best highlight plays, or you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say all of it. It had highlight plays from like your best games, whatever. And that would always show up because it was just such a ridiculous thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Like off the inbound, I'm talking about nothing but net. You know what I'm saying? Hit that every time we boot up the game. That would be the first thing we see. Like if you look at the TV, that'd be the thing you see. Like me, like hitting that three, bro. That's like a core memory for me, like in basketball games, bro. That's probably when I really started, like, you know what I'm saying, really liking the game of basketball. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, yeah, 2K. I mean, NBA Live was better than 2K until the turn of the century or millennium. Or, you know what I'm saying? Turn of the, when it hit 2010, when 2K10 came out, that's when 2K started killing. I ain't gonna lie.
Had something that was very unique from all the other 2K games ever made. Instead of it being called NBA2K, it was called ESPN Basketball. ESPN Basketball was the first basketball game to fully feature the ESPN license. The biggest addition to ESPN Basketball, which in my opinion is one of the greatest 2K game modes of all time, was the 24/7 game mode. In 24/7, you had to build your character from the ground up. You also had the ability to customize your player from his position to his gear and accessories. The game mode also had a feature where everything was real time. So every hour, there will always be something different going on in the world. The game also lets you travel around the world and play against NBA players and legends in locations like Seattle, Houston, Chicago, California, Maine, and much more. In the following year, ESPN NBA 2K5 was no longer owned by Sega, due to Sega Sports selling Visual Concepts to Take-Two Interactives. ESPN 2K5's cover athlete was Ben Wallace. This ended the streak of Allen Iverson being on 5 consecutive 2K covers.
Crazy.
NBA 2K5 added a feature in franchise mode called Full Authority, where you can coach your players and choose how many shots they take and the locations of the shots. NBA 2K5 also improved on the 24/7 game mode, adding more clothes, accessories, and courts to play on. NBA 2K5 also added a new engine called ISO Motions 2.0 that allowed you to do acrobatic layups. ISO Motions 2.0 also allowed the player to choose which hand he wanted to do a layup with, or if he wanted to change his shot midair. And one thing that made 2K5 even better is that this game was only $20, while NBA Live 05 was full price at $40. However, NBA Live was still the king of basketball games at this time.
It was.
With NBA Live 05 getting 1.6 million copies sold, and 2K5 only getting 1 million copies sold. Even though NBA Live was considered...
I don't know too much about the early 2K games, bro, because, again, it was NBA Live, then, like, 2K was, like, down here, you know what I'm saying? Still close, you know what I'm saying? But, there was, distance between them, you know what I'm saying? There's distance between them.
Better game during this time. The legendary run that Sega made should not be forgotten. On the date of September 26, 2005, the first NBA 2K game was released for the 6th generation consoles. NBA 2K6 was the first game of the Take-Two era. Unfortunately, NBA 2K6 lost its ESPN license. Shaquille O'Neal was the cover athlete of NBA 2K6. As well as him being the cover athlete, Shaquille O'Neal also helped out the developers with the low post gameplay. Shaquille O'Neal worked with the design team to help create new animations, providing the motion capture for some of the game's pump fakes, drop steps, and the blocks that players did during the game. NBA 2K6 got positive reviews from critics upon release. The most positive comments were concerning the players' designs, commentary, the gameplay, and the soundtrack, but the negative comments were directed at the controls, the menus, and the lack of drastic improvements. Although NBA 2K6 may not have that many improvements, they did implement something new called the shot stick feature that allowed you to change your shot with a flick of the right stick. NBA 2K6 also implemented the VIP system. The VIP system was a feature that let you make your own profile that stored your overall stats of the game, but also the key elements of how you actually play the game. Then this VIP profile can be downloaded by others, and then you can assign that player's VIP profile to a computer, and then with that VIP profile, you can basically play a computer version of them. Shaquille O'Neal made his second debut on 2K with the release of NBA 2K7. NBA 2K7 made an interesting addition to the free throw mechanic. The game allowed you to use your controller as a basketball while attempting a free throw. NBA 2K7 was also the first 2K game to give players their own signature styles. NBA 2K7 did an overhaul where they added 300 plus animations for players around the NBA so they can play how they would in real life. This feature of signature styles also let your player from the 24/7 game mode choose from hundreds of different jump shot animations. 2K7's 24/7 game mode was a story-based game mode that was told through a series of cutscenes. You made a created player that was an up-and-coming baller that was looking to make a name for himself. The final goal for your player in this game mode was to get an invitation to the Legends Charity Tournament. The Legends Charity Tournament was a basketball game featuring NBA All-Stars and was held at real-life location Record Park. To get there, however, you had to make your way through different challenges that were spread across different locations like Texas, Chicago, and Los Angeles. During the player's journey, they will have to play an opponent named Skills, which was a villain of the story. At the end of the story, you win the charity game at Record Park. Then the player would then get called up, making it into the NBA. With Shaq on the last two installments of 2K, Chris Paul earned the cover for 2K8. NBA 2K8 was considered disappointing when it first came out. The biggest issue that the majority of people had with 2K8 was that the game felt bland and it felt like a copy and paste of NBA 2K7. One thing that I did not like about 2K8 was how they weren't creative with the main menu of the game. The game did have a cool dunk contest though. Even though NBA 2K8 was considered disappointing, NBA 2K9 made a quick bounce back. NBA 2K9 was the first 2K game to outsell NBA Live. After all this time, 2K Basketball was finally recognized as the best basketball game in the market. Ever since then, NBA 2K has never looked back and has been outselling NBA Live for the time being. NBA Live, on the other hand, was declining slowly, while 2K was improving. The 10-year anniversary of the 2K franchise was received very well with the release of 2K10. NBA 2K10 introduced the NBA Today game mode. NBA Today
This game, bro, I got fond memories of, bro, because Kobe was on the cover. He gonna get into it. My career was a thing, bro. For, you know what I'm saying? We got it now. I like the menus, like the gameplay felt good, like it was, you know what I'm saying? I loved it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie. I've been playing 2K ever since, bro.
Real-life NBA team schedules and stats in the NBA 2K. This feature allows you to play the game before it happens in real life. NBA Today also affected the commentary team's dialogue. A lot of real league stats will also appear as splash graphics or overlays over the game. This made it feel like you were actually watching a real-life game. 2K10 is also the first game to introduce My Player, which quickly became a staple of the 2K series. My Player also allows you to make your player however you wanted to, and then you had full control over your player's NBA career. You could also use your My Player in an online 5-on-5 game mode called the Crew Mode. NBA 2K10 was a great game, but something devastating happened during the release of the game. In 2009, Mike Wang, which was a former 2K employee, left 2K Sports to join EA to help out the development for NBA Live 10. Mike Wang was a huge reason of NBA Live 10 being successful. Lots of the old NBA Live issues were improved, like the animations and the presentation. NBA Live 10 was a commercial success and brought back the heated rivalry between 2K and NBA Live. 2K Sports was fully aware of NBA Live attempting a comeback, and the way that 2K decided to respond was by making one of the greatest 2K games ever made.
11, yeah. If you didn't experience first booting up 2K11, bro, oh man, you missed out, bro. You missed out.
Here we are at the start of 2025, which is 14 years after the release of 2K11. A lot of things have changed over 14 years, but one thing that didn't change is the mass opinion that NBA 2K11 is the best basketball game ever made. NBA 2K11 is the game that completely killed off and ended the chances for NBA Live making any type of comeback. NBA 2K11 is also the first 2K game to add classic teams and players. NBA 2K11 laid down the foundation and the blueprint for the future of the 2K series. This is the same year that EA almost released NBA Elite 11, so the bar really wasn't high for 2K. However, Visual Concepts decided to further innovate the game and completely push the envelope further than it already was. One thing that 2K11 did really well was the implementation of the small features in game modes. Upon entering the main menu of 2K11, you will see a lot of small features in game modes that when you add them up, they truly build onto the main game. The addition of the My Jordan section was one of the features that was very cool for its time. I just love how the shoes were presented on a shoe case, and how every Jordan had a description of the history of the shoe. Some shoes are locked when you first unlock this feature, so you had to unlock some of the Jordans through different challenges. Different Jordans gave your characters different attribute boosts, and you can put these Jordans on your My Player or any NBA player that's in the game. NBA 2K11 also made a huge jump in the My Career mode. One thing that I enjoyed about 2K11's My Career was the simplicity of the game mode. There was no such thing as VC in 2K11, so you really had to put time and effort into grinding your player as if it was real life. The game also gave you a lot of drills to help upgrade your player, such as shooting drills, defensive drills, and dribbling drills. You also had to go through different obstacles like the NBA Combine and the Summer League. One thing that people did not know about NBA 2K11 My Career was that if you didn't make the NBA, you would actually get assigned to the D League. This made the game super rewarding when you actually got drafted, because there's so many things that you have to avoid and so many obstacles that you have to get by to finally get drafted to the NBA. You could also take your custom player and play a 5-on-5 pro-am type game mode called the Crew, just like 2K10. NBA 2K11 arguably also has one of the best soundtracks out of any 2K game ever made. There are so many songs that this game has that have been in my playlist for more than 5 years at least. One thing that 2K11 did that no other 2K has never done better is the intro of the game. The intro consisted of graphics of Michael Jordan doing action shots like dunking or shooting. Then it switched to a cutscene of Michael Jordan running out the tunnel getting ready for Game 1 of the NBA Finals against the Los Angeles Lakers in 1991. After this intro, the game will then lead you to the Jordan challenges, which gave the player the opportunity to recreate 10 of Michael Jordan's best career moments. These challenges also taught newer NBA fans the history of the NBA. Once you were done with the Jordan challenges, 2K also had a game mode called Create a Legend. Create a Legend was a game mode where you can assign Michael Jordan to a 2010 modern NBA team and try to recreate his career. When you add up the gameplay, the legends, the presentation, and the rest of the game's features, you can easily see why this is one of the best 2K games of all time. This game was a masterpiece, and this game has an overall legendary legacy.
I would agree with it. You know what I'm saying? For this part,
NBA 2K12 was the first 2K game to have 3 different cover athletes, consisting of Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson. NBA 2K12 is a very good game, but I honestly think that the game is very underrated. The reason why NBA 2K12 is an underrated game is that NBA 2K12 released during the NBA lockout. The effect of the NBA lockout made 2K12 not have any rookie players during the game's launch, and many people at this time were uncertain if there would even be an NBA season. You can make a valid argument that 2K12 was a better version of NBA 2K11. If you ask me, I think 2K Sports used 2K12 to glorify the classic era of basketball. In last year's 2K, the Michael Jordan challenges was the highlight and the main selling point of the game. But NBA 2K12's game mode, called NBA's Greatest, builds on top of it. This game mode was like Jordan Moments, but instead of only having Michael Jordan, they included 14 other legends that you can do challenges with. These challenges let you play with players like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Julius Erving, John Stockton, and Magic Johnson. One thing that I loved about this game mode was just the gold coloring in the cursive font and how it showed the players playing in real time. When you started one of the challenges, you will notice that they had different broadcast settings, like black and white footage for the time period for the Bill Russell challenge. You can easily tell that 2K Sports put a lot of time and effort into the presentation of 2K12. On top of 2K12 adding 15 different challenges for legends, they also added different presentation settings for those eras. These presentation settings that are prevalent in 2K12 remind me of the My Era setting in today's 2K. 2K12 also had a DLC called the Legend Showcase. In my experience, it is very rare to hear somebody talk about this game mode. It honestly might be forgotten. The Legend Showcase DLC allowed you to pick from multiple legendary duos. You could pick duos like Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, and even John Stockton and Karl Malone. Once you pick your duo, there were different game modes like Horse and 21. The DLC took place in New York Times Square, in front of a crowd. See, this DLC was cool. The only thing that I didn't like about it was a weird art style that they used. 2K12 is also the first game to introduce online association. Me personally, I've never played association mode like that, but I can imagine this being pretty big for people that did.
Bro.
It's still in 2K to this day. 2K12 also made an interesting change with the My Career. Instead of your player going to the combine and going to the summer league, you fast track all that and play at the rookie showcase instead. If you want my honest opinion, I think the rookie showcase doesn't even make sense. It's not even a real life thing that rookies do in real life. One thing that made this showcase worse is that you didn't even play with real rookies due to the NBA lockout. So instead you just played with a whole bunch of randomly generated players. Anyways, once you completed the rookie showcase, 2K12 offered more features like pre-draft interviews, mock drafts with scouting reports, and this is also the first 2K where you can give a Hall of Fame speech. 2K13 also added the Dream Team and how much time and effort the old 2K developers put into the 2Ks back in the day. 2K13, in my opinion, is a very fun game, but has a lot of flaws. In no way do I ever expect 2K to be completely flawless. Games can be hard to make, and they will always have glitches. But seriously though, some of the issues that this game has were just caused by total laziness. But before I get into the negatives, let me get into the positives first. The intro for 2K13 is one of the best 2K intros of all time. The way that they integrated Jay-Z's song with the intro was super well thought and put together. 2K13 also added a new control stick feature, where the shot stick was officially part of the dribbling mechanics. This was a significant change for the 2K franchise. 2K13 also added the Dream Team and the Redeem Team to the game. The game also made improvements to My Career, like giving the player the ability to go #1 in the draft. They also added GM meetings in My Career, where your player can make demands about the team and demands about his future in the NBA. 2K13 was also the game that introduced badges, which was called signature skills back in the day. And that's pretty much the only positive things about 2K13. Now it's time to talk about the negative things 2K13 did. One of the biggest issues of 2K13 was the cherry picking exploit. But anybody who played 2K13 knew that this game had a serious cherry picking exploit. It was so bad that there were tutorials on YouTube teaching other players how to use this cherry picking exploit. This glitch almost single-handedly destroyed 2K13 online. Another issue with 2K13 were the bugs. If you played someone online that was using Russell Westbrook or LeBron James, it was almost impossible to stop them from dunking. For some reason, 2K13 made dunking unstoppable because you couldn't block dunks. This was a literal nightmare when your opponent was cherry picking and abusing dunks at the same time. This exploit completely destroyed the strategy of playing basketball fundamentally in 2K13. It was rare to see somebody play the game realistically because 2K made it so easy to simply throw the ball for a court and cherry pick. It was also way too easy to shoot 3-pointers on 2K13. On top of that, this game has the worst AI out of any 2K ever. 2K13's computer Hall of Fame would shoot 60% from the field no matter how much you contest a shot. And on top of all these issues, 2K13 is the first 2K that added VC, which is the #1 reason why current 2K is trash. With 2K13 adding VC, you can also use VC to buy clothes for your My Player for the online 3-on-3 blacktop mode. This mode was super fun back in the day, especially when you played it with friends. 2K13 is also the first 2K that introduced the My Team mode, which is one of the main game modes in 2K today. One thing that I noticed about 2K13 is that this is the game where they stopped putting real effort in the blacktop mode. I still don't understand how the vast amount of courts and game modes in the older 2K blacktops turned into a game of 21 that varied from 1-on-1 to 5-on-5. In 2K13, the game gave you an all-star event game mode behind the paywall of a pre-order. With this pre-order, you got a bundle of a pair of headphones, a basketball, and a basketball-themed controller skin. This all-star game mode had the dunk contest that turned the game mode into some dumbass Guitar Hero minigame. I thought that it was so stupid that they had a game mode like the all-star events behind a fucking paywall. Anyways, the last thing that I'm going to mention about this game is the soundtrack, which was amazing in this game. Jay-Z did a hell of a job with the music selection for this game. NBA 2K14 is the first 2K game to be released for the PS4 and Xbox One. 2K14 was made 12 years ago, on the date of October 1st, 2013. And since the time that this game has came out, I still don't understand why 2K has changed the graphics from 2K14's. The reason why 2K14 looks better than the newer 2K titles was because of 2K14's unique lighting. If you look at the same exact things in the newer 2K games, like the shot clock, like the referees, like the cameramen, you will notice that they use the same exact models and objects. The only difference was how 2K14 had a unique lighting, especially when you compared it to 2K13 on the PS3. 2K14 made a huge improvement about the way the players looked during the game. 2K14 made a huge overhaul on the 2K13 player models and faces. You could argue that the 2K14 players looked almost photorealistic for the time being. 2K14 also changed how the hoop looked during the game. They got the small details like the camera behind the backboard and a wire connecting to the cameras. They even showed the lights that make up the buzzer behind the backboard. Same for the shot clock also. The way that the lights shined in this game were graphical downgrade like I mentioned earlier, but I do understand that graphics aren't everything, and it didn't change the fact that 2K15 is a very solid game in the 2K franchise. 2K15 made a huge improvement with a much more creative main menu. 2K14's main menu was very bland, but 2K15 completely fixed that. 2K15 had a 3D user interface if you moved around the right stick of your controller. When 2K15 servers were still on, the big TV screen would play episodes of 2K TV. This was convenient for people who wanted to watch the show, or just watch Rachel, but that's for a different topic. Anyways, when you started a game and play now, you would get a cool pregame show with Ernie and Shaq that was actually pretty entertaining, and it was a smart way to make the loading screen feel faster. 2K15 added 500 new animations for the gameplay, which made it feel smoother. 2K also made some additions and improvements to the My Career game mode. This is the first game to introduce the face game feature. I'm not gonna act like it was good because it was known more as a way to make jokes. Most of the time you would have people coming out with glitched faces and faces that don't even look like the person in real life. 2K15 also built on the park game mode by adding 3 different affiliations called Sunset Beach, Old Town Flyers, and the Rivet City Riders. Every affiliation gave you different attribute upgrades, like Sunset Beach giving you a boost to shooting, Old Town giving you a boost to dribbling, and Rivet City giving you a dunking boost. Along with these boosts, your affiliation also had its own special park. 2K15 also introduced the Jordan Rec Center, where you could play a fully 5-on-5 online NBA-style game with your friends or against other people. And finally, they also added the stage, where you can play games where you put VC on the line. It was basically gambling with VC. The official story for My Career was different this year. Your player went undrafted, and he had to get into the NBA by proving himself with a 10-day.
I'll be so honest. From here until I didn't touch My Career. I touched a little bit in this game, right? I got myself up to like a 64 overall. Because I was mostly just playing, play now. I was a kid, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't trying to do all this extra, you know what I'm saying? I didn't end up getting into My Career until 2K19, bro. And I had a two-way shot creator, bro. 6'1", shooting guard, bro. Doing nothing, you know what I'm saying? Missing wide up corner threes because, my 3-point wasn't as high as my mid-range. I make all my mid-ranges for the most part. Hopping wreck, everybody suck on my team. Everybody on the other team got losing by 60, bro. I don't know how many times that happened to me, bro. I would have a solid game. The rest of my team wouldn't. I was stuck at freaking. Let's go to 19, bro. Let's go to 19, bro. I was stuck at amateur 1 my entire time, bro. Look, a lot of people, say 17 was the last good, 2K. Last great 2K. I would have to, we had to go 19, bro. 19 was it, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Or 16, maybe. A lot of people like 16 too.
2K20 did an overall revamp of the My Gym. Top of all that, they had a park badge called. They were a good addition made to the game. It was cool that you had different guarding you couldn't really do. NBA 2K19 was a big improvement from 2K18 and fixed the biggest issues like the snatchback and blow-bys, but also introduced other issues with the game. 2K19 had issues like the base 11 jump shot being completely broken. Another issue with this game was how overpowered takeover was, like post-scoring takeover, where your player would get an animation where he commits an offensive foul, but the refs would never call it. Self-lobs on this game are also impossible to stop. For some reason on this game, when you threw yourself a self-lob, the person guarding you couldn't really do anything to get you outside the self-lob animation. So it was basically inevitable that you were about to get a free 2 points. This game also had a weird tendency, where this game would call moving screens on players that were standing completely still, and the worst addition, pushing. Why did they even think to have something like this inside of a simulation basketball game? But 2K19 did do some good things, like the complete overhaul of the main menu, where it looked like you were in a high-rise building in the city that went to different parts of the building, depending on what game mode you chose. The pregame show was also improved by putting the crew in the arena of the home team. The My Career game mode was also highly improved, just off the removal of Refresh alone. The story of 2K19 had your character start off in China, and then he made his way throughout the G League, and eventually made it into the NBA. It was also great that you could skip the cutscenes unlike 2K18. 2K19 also added more ways to improve your players' badges, like drills, and gave you more ways to make a VC like endorsements and daily challenges. And even though I said that the takeovers are broken, I still do think that they were a good addition made to the game.
You would go to the building. You go to your manager, your whatever building to get your check for the week or whatever. Or after the game, after if you get endorsements or you actually go pick up your check. I really did like that feature, bro. Back when the park was simple. Now we got this stupid city, bro. I'm gonna stop right there, man. I don't even want to, I don't want to touch anything past this, bro. But let's get done.
It was cool that you had different takeovers for whatever build you had. And if you had a build that had 2 archetypes, when you reached 94 overall, you could get double takeover that affected 2 aspects of your player's playstyle. They also completely revamped the neighborhood by remaking the layout by making the courts all in the middle and everything else like the stores in the rec center around the courts. 2K19 also introduced a ton of park events like Ruffles, Court Conqueror, Top Dog, and Gold Rush. The 2K19 also added the cages, which was like Slam Ball if you know what I'm talking about. 2K19 was a fun game at times and was a big improvement from 2K18, but it was flawed and was far from perfect. I know that a lot of people may not agree with this opinion, but I don't care. In my opinion,